if my whole lifetime of 30, 40 years has been so focused on getting physical pleasures, food, sex, sleep, whatever, I don't know, drugs, not that I did drugs, but I mean all the stuff that, physical things that get you high. If I have 30 years of focusing on I am a body consciousness, how many years then is it going to take for me to reprogram myself into knowing that I'm spiritual? I'm a spiritual being instead of a physical being. You can't just snap your fingers and just expect it to happen. You have to want it. Just as much as you wanted those physical pleasures and just as much effort. You know how people spend sort of huge amounts of money and effort trying to get their physical goals achieved, the whole bucket list. I mean, we spend enormous amounts of resources. I then shifted my resources, including my money, to pretty much spiritual things. So instead of using my money for going to on exotic vacations, which I did, and I love that. Not that I didn't love that; it was fantastic. I use my money now to donate to spiritual causes, that were spreading genuine spiritual energy, and also using the money so that I could go on spiritual retreats. And those were my vacations. And you talk about going to a spiritual retreat, it's really not so much of a vacation. It's actually not so easy, because in a spiritual retreat, you face your ego. Imagine going, I used to go see Adyashanti. Adyashanti is a famous spiritual teacher nowadays. He's pretty famous. And I went to a couple of those retreats, and there was one I remember going to a 7-day silent retreat. You think, 7 days in silence, how nice, how relaxing. 7 days in silence, being in your mind. Not going out to restaurants, not even speaking to anyone, all the 200 people that were at the retreat, or however many, 300 people. Not even really looking them in the eye, but just focusing on presence, beingness. Doing that for a week without talking. That's tough. That's not really a vacation. You call it a spiritual vacation? Maybe, but spiritual vacation means facing your ego and facing your desires that are keeping you locked in to the physical consciousness of I am in this. And so after years of, chipping away at the ego, it feels more and more and more diffused, the inner experience. It's fascinating how it occurs like this. Year by year by year, with that intensity, somehow the Brian character has become softer and wider and more sort of like detached in a good way. Detached in the sense of I'm not chasing after so many physical desires anymore. And clear and sharp as well. Sharp in the sense of like being able to see through things and figure out things easier, like the intellect is more sharp.